guys, it's Sasha. In the last few hours, yet another crypto exchange has gone bankrupt. This time it's BlockFi. And in case you don't know what BlockFi is, Andrei Jikh promoted it in the video a few days ago where he talked about the collapse of FTX, the crypto exchange that collapsed a few days before that. You really could not make this up. I guess Andrei is right now busy finding the next scam crypto exchange that he can promote in the video about the collapse of BlockFi. To be fair to Andrei, he is not the only degenerate YouTuber who promoted this garbage. Graham, Stephan, Meet Kevin, and pretty much everybody else on YouTube was shilling BlockFi because they paid money to promote their scam, and all of these idiots walked right into it again. And again, we are going to have the same sob story that we've heard every fucking time. How could possibly anybody have known? It was impossible to tell that this is a scam. It was impossible to know Voyager was a scam. When Voyager collapsed, it was impossible to tell that FTX was a scam. When FTX collapsed, it was still impossible to tell that BlockFi was a scam. For fuck's sake! Anyone who actually has a brain knew that when a crypto exchange pays you ridiculous, stupid amounts of money as interest for staking far in excess of anything that any normal financial company could possibly reasonably pay, then the reason that they can afford to pay this money is because it is a fucking Ponzi scheme. When a crypto exchange throws huge advertising money, ridiculous amounts, more than normal amounts by several orders, because they sell people worthless tokens on their platform, it is a fucking pump and dump scheme. And yes, I got offered the same deal by BlockFi. And you know what? I didn't fucking take it. And do you know why? Because it was possible to tell that it was a scam if you weren't a greedy shit. In the last few hours, Graham Stephan published an apology video for shilling FTX, except he spent the vast majority of the video justifying his actions, somehow trying to explain them instead of actually apologizing. And I think he made it a few hours too early because he forgot to apologize for shilling BlockFi that has now gone bankrupt as well. And the excuse was that he did his due diligence on FTX by asking FTX, "Are you a scam?" on a 30-minute phone call. And do you know what? FTX said, "No, we're totally fucking legit. Shut up and take the money." The money, by the way, being way more than any normal sponsor would ever pay. And because FTX said no, they were clearly not a scam. That's how due diligence works, right? What kind of a scammer would pretend that they were totally legit? Am I right? The problem we have is that people who do not understand even the most basic things about finance, who fall for this kind of shit, who have zero experience in anything finance related, happen to be the biggest finance influencers on YouTube, because at the end of the day, YouTube is an entertainment platform. So naturally, the biggest finance influencers are professional salesmen who used to sell real estate in LA, and a dude who used to do magic tricks for a living, who can't stop selling every fucking scam going. And according to these guys, it was absolutely impossible to see the giant fuck-off elephant standing right there in the middle of the room. The obvious question then becomes, if this is the level of erudition that these guys apply to managing their actual business and their own money, what are they doing teaching anyone anything about managing their money or managing their affairs? How come every time that they make a really fucking stupid mistake, like promoting Shiba Inu, Flocky Inu, fuck knows what Inu, they go and make the same exact mistake over and over and over? There is no learning. The same shit keeps happening, one scam after another, pump and dump scheme after another, Ponzi scheme after another. And I guess if you take all of this dirty money, promote this shit to your viewers so that they lose a load of their money too, when the scam does eventually collapse, which they always do, all you have to do is make a half-assed apology video and all is forgotten. It's all great. It doesn't matter that a load of people lost a lot of money. You have said sorry. So all is good. Soon everyone will forget that you actually took hundreds of thousands of dollars for actively promoting and encouraging this degenerate shit. On the 13th of November, when FTX was imploding because Sam Bankman-Fried stole all the money, CZ, the guy who was the CEO of Binance, the biggest platform out there that is generally revered as some kind of a fucking god by crypto bros, tweeted, "If an exchange has to move large amounts of crypto before or after they demonstrate their wallet address, it is a clear sign of problems. Stay away, stay safe. And of course, exactly 2 weeks after tweeting that, the day before yesterday, Binance went and moved $2 billion worth of Bitcoin to an unknown address. According to CZ, this is because an auditor asked them to move it to prove that they own the address, because nothing says that you own a wallet like moving $2 billion fucking dollars out of it for no particular reason. There is no auditor in the world who would request you to move $2 billion from one account to another to prove that you own the account. No auditor that isn't a scumbag. This is just another day full of horseshit in the world of crypto. Just in case you missed the BlockFi story, BlockFi actually lent money to FTX, who then lent that money to Alameda. I say lent, they more like just gave the money over. The common parlance is they fucking stole it. Anyway, Alameda then went and lent that money to a shell company called Emergent, this one also owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, and he used that money to buy up a boatload of Robinhood shares that he then used as collateral to borrow more money from BlockFi that he then used to bail out BlockFi. I'm not sure I've got that exactly perfectly right, but I think we got the gist. The overall gist here is that crypto is a giant fake leverage fest. Imagine that you and I each start a crypto company and we each have $0. I create a token called Fluffy Inu Coin, and you go and create an NFT collection called the Funny Underwear Chimps. So we now each have an asset, fick me and fuck you. Now to create a load of wealth, I can borrow your NFTs and you can borrow my crypto tokens. So the transactions look roughly like this. I fuck you and you fuck me. And now you have a fuckload of assets and a fuckload of liabilities, and because you have all of these assets, you can go and borrow real money against them. You know, the stuff that you can actually buy real things with and use your fucking balance sheet as collateral. And this is exactly how all of these crypto exchanges have actually been operating. There is a reason why they all have a giant boatload of each other's monopoly money on their balance sheets. And one issue with this kind of fraud is that when one of these dimwits decides to steal the money and run, everybody else is left there holding their private parts in their hands, which is roughly what happened with FTX. Now, the remarkable fact is that Sam Bankman-Fried is still a free man, going about his business in the Bahamas. It seems that the consensus among regulators and politicians is that this guy just made an honest mistake. He didn't just steal $10 billion. It was a little misunderstanding, you see. And if you think otherwise, you are a fucking conspiracy nut job. This has absolutely nothing at all to do with SBF being the second biggest donor to the Democrat Party, who happened to be in power. And the remarkable thing is that the regulators seem to be absolutely impotent as well. The fraud was bad, but the cover-up of this fraud is the sort of shit that you will read about in history books and wonder how the actual fuck was this allowed to happen. Everyone who profited from the fraud gets to keep their money. The Democrats get to keep their money. The YouTubers get to keep their money. And eventually some other news headlines will turn up and take over. And I guess the idea is that by that point, everyone will just forget that this whole shit show happened in the first place. One look at the website of BlockFi shows you how deep this stuff goes. Here is a list of the idiots who invested in this fraud. And look, the big guns are all in on the fraud. Bain Capital is right there. Tiger Global is there. Valar Ventures is there. That's Peter Thiel's company. He's the owner, and Valar apparently owns 19% of BlockFi. Peter Thiel, by the way, is the founder and the largest shareholder of Palantir, the company that deals with data on behalf of the US government, the US Army, the US police forces, the FBI, etc., etc., etc. Now, do you think this guy, the guy who owns the only company in the world with level 6 security clearance with the Department of Defense and the US government, do you think he invested a shit ton of money into BlockFi and had absolutely no idea what was happening there behind the scenes, had access to no data whatsoever? Do you think these investors were duped by these crypto bros? Do you honestly think these greedy private equity companies and hedge funds just blindly gave their money, didn't care whatsoever about what happens with it, did not know what the balance sheets of these scam companies look like? Do you think that? I don't. Because that's not how any large investor operates. I personally have worked for companies with large private equity investment, and if those guys are going to give you a load of money, they better know exactly what the fuck it is that you're going to be doing with it in the business. They are going to demand board seats, they're going to demand monthly reports. So the unfortunate fact is that either all of these large investors magically, at the same time, didn't do any due diligence whatsoever on what they were investing hundreds of millions of dollars into, or they all knew full well what the shit under the bonnet looked like, and they were very happy to gamble because they were standing to make a load of money from this scam. And of course, when the house of cards falls apart, these guys don't want anyone poking their noses into what actually went down, who actually knew what. They have all the right connections in the government, all the right connections with the regulators and with the police. In the case of Palantir, they literally provide the systems that the police and FBI use to track this shit down. This is so bonkers. And of course, the Winklevoss twins were also part of this through Winklevoss Capital. Remember, they had their own crypto Ponzi scheme called Gemini Earn that went under a few weeks ago as well. And what do we have here? Oh, Coinbase also happens to be an investor in BlockFi. And so is SoFi. And these guys are apparently regulated in the US. And according to their CEO, Coinbase is absolutely fine and in no way affected by what happened at FTX. Trust him, because they are a trustworthy public company that either completely negligently invested in dog shit like BlockFi because they are completely incompetent idiots, or they knew all along exactly what BlockFi was doing and were perfectly happy to take on the risk. One of these two has to be true. Whichever way it is, it doesn't exactly look good for Coinbase. The problem for Coinbase is that their revenues are entirely dependent on the price of Bitcoin. So last year when Bitcoin was trading at all-time highs, Coinbase made $5.3 billion worth of revenue in the first 9 months of the year. And this year, they have made just $2.6 billion in the same period, less than half. Last year, they made a big profit. This year, they have lost over $2 billion. And the problem here is that the cost of a business like this, like salaries, are priced in dollars, while your revenues come in the form of fucking monopoly money. And so Coinbase have lost over $2 billion of cash so far this year. The balance sheet shows that they have $5 billion left. There are no other real assets at all on the balance sheet here. Presumably, they're not going to steal their customers' money, although it wouldn't surprise me given what's happening these days. But look, they also have $3.4 billion worth of long-term debt, and they've burned through $4.8 billion in operating activities so far this year. So if the price of Bitcoin stays down for the next year, it looks like Coinbase is also going to be in some deep shit. Fundraising when your stock is heading towards zero is going to be pretty hard, and I don't know how many idiots are left out there that will actually lend them money. I am sure everybody is going to be very surprised when it happens again. In the last 3 months, Coinbase's operating expenses were double their revenue. The professional term for this kind of setup is really fucking bad. And now that the crypto bros have lost all of their pocket money across all of these different scams, falling apart one after another, next year could look incredibly bleak for crypto. Unless, of course, the crypto bros go and invent yet another scam now that NFTs and crypto tokens have found their rightful place down the toilet.